Among the many holiday-themed characters that show up around this time of year, the Grinch has always stood out from the rest. It's rare for a character with evil intentions to actually be the protagonist of a story, and he doesn't really look like an appealing character for kids. When I was a kid, I was terrified of the movie with Jim Carrey in it because one look at that Grinch scarred me. But the Grinch has been a staple of every December for a long time. And with such a popular character comes attempts to milk that character for all they're worth. There's been plenty of new films and redesigns over the years, and at this point, I'd guess that most people know who the Grinch is. Whether it's from the original book, adaptations in the media, or smash speculation, the character was a recognizable one, and it was only a matter of time until the Grinch would finally get his own game. In fact, he got plenty of them. But today, I wanted to focus on one game in specific. Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas released in November of 2007, and it was a game I would eventually receive for Christmas myself. I remember playing it, but not for very long. From what I remembered, it wasn't very fun. And even though I may have been just a kid, I could still tell that my time was better spent playing other games. But I've always had an itch to finally give it a shot and see if it's really bad or not. And for this holiday season, I've decided that today would finally be that day. So let's see if this game is really as bad as I remember it. I have to start off by actually giving this game some credit. This game might be shovelware, but at least it's a bit more unique than what you'd usually find. When shovelware games featuring popular characters were made during this time, they're often one of two things. They're either generic 2D platformers without a soul, or they're basic minigame collections for kids who aren't smart enough to realize how bad the games are. While this game is somewhat similar to a 2D platformer, it's actually a stealth game. It obviously makes sense, given that the Grinch was sneaking around people's houses to steal Christmas, but I do still appreciate that the gameplay is just a bit more unique than I expected. The basic objective here is to enter the house, steal some presents, and leave through the big fireplace. There's also extra presents and decorations that you can pick up, and I decided to get all of these throughout my playthrough. I don't know if they're actually necessary to get the final ending, but since I wanted to 100% this game, I was planning on getting all of these anyway. The first level just confused the hell out of me. They just drop you in without actually telling you how to play. So I spent the first minute or two just trying to figure out the controls. This game only makes use of the D-pad, A button, and sometimes the touchscreen. When I found the first present, I was spamming the B button thinking that that would make him steal the present, but I actually had to press the A button. And because I took so long, I ended up getting caught. You can actually get caught 3 times, which you would think doesn't really make sense, since if you found an intruder in your home, you probably wouldn't just not care at all. But I guess it makes sense because this is a game for kids, and also because if you weren't able to get caught a single time in this game, it would literally be unbeatable. But sometimes you can get caught without taking damage, if you can beat the minigames. The first time I got hit and I just saw this, I was stunned. I was so utterly confused by what the hell was happening, and that Grinch sprite, just wow. This all felt like some sort of fever dream or something as it was happening, but nope, this is really in the game. There's 2 other minigames as well, but I was only able to actually play one of them. When you get caught by the little girl, you basically just play Guitar Hero but with people as the notes. And there's another minigame shown in an IGN review that I didn't see in my entire playthrough. I definitely got hit by those specific enemies a few times, and there was no minigame. I'm not sure if I'm just unlucky or if there's some specific scenario where this happens, but it never happened to me. As I progressed through the first level, I already had a few things on my mind. I can't help but feel like he wasn't there to just steal Christmas, but maybe some cupcakes as well, if you know what I mean.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
I also found it so odd that no one really cares that the Grinch is roaming around their house stealing their stuff unless he actually touches them. These kids instantly go back to sleep when the sleep paralysis demon is standing right at the foot of their bed, and even these adults can't see the Grinch when he's right in front of them. It kind of ruins the idea of a stealth game when you can basically just do whatever you want as long as you don't touch the enemies. It is at least more unique than other shovelware, but there's so much more they could have done to make this game interesting. What if you could create distractions at other parts of the house to lure enemies away from certain spots? Or what if you could find a key and lock the little girl in her room so she stops making that goddamn noise on repeat? And those are just the first two ideas to pop in my head, so imagine what other interesting gameplay mechanics could exist. I praise this game for being unique, but it starts to lose its charm as soon as you realize the stealth mechanics aren't really that deep. But above all else, the first level really showed me the lack of clarity in this game. I didn't even realize why I died at first, since I was barely looking at the top screen, and that's where the Grinch's health bar is. And the reason why I got hit here in the first place was because I didn't realize this guy would actually walk all the way over here to this wall. There's no indication of the areas where the enemies roam, so you can just get jump scared by them instantly turning around sometimes. And it doesn't help that you can't see that much on the screen because of how zoomed in the camera is. Despite all of these issues though, I was able to beat the first level on my second try. And now it was time for level 2. Level 2 was a bit more complex than level 1 thanks to all the fireplaces, but the worst part of this level was not realizing the logs were decorations that I could steal and having to backtrack because I missed some stuff when I got to the end. I still beat it first try though, and I made my way to level 3. I hate this level. It starts off with 2 enemies roaming the area around the entrance, and because they walk at different speeds, I just had to wait, and eventually I found an opening to get past. There's a lot of waiting in this game, and while I get that stealth games are supposed to reward patience and calculated moves, I don't think it should be this annoying. You also have to sit through animations when going through hallways and fireplaces, and if you're going across the entire house, the animation is pretty long. But this level gets worse. This one area in the bottom right is basically impossible to steal from without getting caught at least once. This is some evil enemy placement right here, and it's sadly a pretty common theme in the level design of this game. And if you only had one life in this game, I don't think it would be possible. But despite all the frustrations I had in this level, I was thankfully able to beat it. And then I realized that my recording setup wasn't cropped properly and tilted off the face of the planet for the day. On the next day, I came back to start level 4. This level has enemies everywhere, and they're once again placed in pretty frustrating spots. Even the first fireplace has enemies circling around it. There's also this one section with a woman that has a gift and decoration over on this wall, but she just walks so damn slow. It's actually just a better use of your time to go up the stairs and come back down when she's turned around, since spending those 20 seconds trailing her doesn't even let you get the present. But the worst part of this level has yet to come. because when I have 2 presents left, I find 1 present, but where's the other one? And then I see it's on the roof, all the way back at the start. They definitely did this intentionally, and God, is it such a dick move. So I have to backtrack through the entire level, including the starting area with those tedious enemies I mentioned before, just to get this one goddamn present. And then I have to make my way all the way back to the end again. After that experience, I made sure to check every single rooftop, even when I was already sure there were no presents up there, because I was not doing that again. There's not much to say about level 5 since it's pretty generic and nothing really frustrated me in the way that other levels did, and level 6 was pretty similar. They're just levels with a lot of paths and a lot of decorations, but I found myself not actively hating these levels. This brings us to the final level, level 7. Level 7 honestly isn't that hard. Pretty much all of these later levels just have several different parts to go through, and that's it. My biggest issues with level 7 were the little girl, since she's in a very small room, which causes her to make that goddamn noise every 8 or so seconds. But this level is also a good time to talk about the stairs in the game. By this point, I figured out that the best hiding spot is actually the stairs. You can't get caught on them even if you touch an enemy, and they're often in better places than the normal hiding spots. However, they are very precise, and you have to be in just the right spot to actually get on them. This screwed me over a lot when I'd try to get on the stairs in a hurry, and it turned out I was just a few pixels too far to get on them, causing me to get caught. The reason why I bring all of this up is because level 7 is also when I found a surprisingly easy bug to find on the stairs. When going up this set of stairs, I would end up clipping into the floor and be unable to move. I was at least able to get back on the stairs, so I wasn't soft-locked, but I wouldn't be surprised if some kid got soft-locked here. And all I'll say is this incident wasn't the last time something like this happened to me. After finishing the level, I had finally beaten this portion of the game. Admittedly, I felt like this game had a lot of problems, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever played. And I felt like it actually had some potential depending on how interesting the next levels were. I was a bit disappointed at how this part of the game ended though, since it just summarizes how the original story ends, and it's very brief. I also found it incredibly strange that they just didn't use any images from the original cartoon here. I mean, even Charlie and the Chocolate Factory did that, and that was on the GBA. You can literally count the goddamn pixels in these images, and you're telling me you couldn't throw a few images in here on a more powerful console? It also plays the credits after the story summary, and they're surprisingly long. There's nearly 2 minutes of credits, and for a game like this, that's kind of overkill. There's even all these QA testers and everything, but I guess they didn't find the staircase bug somehow. With the credits finally over, I can move from the mildly unpleasant levels to the rather nasty levels. I was somewhat interested to see how these levels would differ from the ones I just played, so I started up the first level and... oh no. There's a time limit now? When I was playing the earlier levels, I was actually thinking about how happy I was that there wasn't a time limit, since I could take my time and not get screwed over by one present on a roof. Now, I was going to have to do things in a more optimal way if I wanted to collect everything in one go. So I get a move on, and I start to notice something. This level feels kind of familiar. There's no way that they just repeated the levels, right? I had to see for myself, so I quickly completed level 1 with nearly 2 minutes to spare, and moved on to level 2. And yeah, this is just the same level 2 as before. I can't even begin to express how disappointing this was. This is like getting one of those terrible 1,000 games in one consoles, scrolling through all of the games, only to eventually realize that there isn't 1,000 games on here, it's just 50 games repeated over and over again to make it look like 1,000 games. But at least those consoles actually come with 50 games, because this game couldn't even come with more than 7 levels. 7 levels! And now I also had to deal with a time limit, which is especially annoying in a game with tons of waiting and long-ass animations that actually count towards your time in the level. If I didn't already know the general layout of these levels from the first time, there's no way I would beat these in 5 minutes. But with my prior knowledge, I was able to mostly breeze my way through these levels once again. I did have some issues on level 4 where I didn't breeze through the level, but it wasn't entirely my fault. I am speedrunning through this level, getting every decoration and present at world record pace. And then... what? How? How does this happen? I may not have gotten soft-locked on the stairs, but this game made damn sure that I was getting soft-locked somehow. I never went up this fireplace after this happened to me, so I don't know how common this is, but I feel like this had to be common enough to be noticed, right? This pretty much cemented this level as my most hated. Not only are the enemies placed in terrible spots and there's a present on the roof that they show at the end just to rub in your face, but you can even get softlocked too. Great. And to add insult to injury, this level took me a while to finally beat. Not only did I waste time selecting the first level because for some reason the map screen defaults to level 1 rather than the last level you played, but I was also getting hit when the level started. For all that QA testing they mentioned in the credits, I'm sure finding plenty of issues with this game. But eventually, I managed to somehow escape the hell that is level 4, and things were mostly smooth from there. I completed level 5, 6, and 7 all first try, and I had beaten this portion of the game. What? Why can't I skip the credits? No. You're telling me I actually have to sit through these 2 minutes of credits again? If this game is gonna make me sit through these credits twice, I better get a decent reward. Okay, my reward is... absolutely despicable difficulty. Great. Surely this difficulty will feature some new levels, right? Of course not. This is a shovelware game, so they've recycled the same 7 levels again! But they did change one thing. Let's play a game of Spot the Difference. Can you find the one difference between these 2 pieces of gameplay? Alright, time's up. And the answer is... right here. Yeah, the only change is that now you have to collect every present before you can leave. And if you've been paying attention to my footage, then you know that I was already doing that. This difficulty is literally nothing but a repeat of the last one for me. And anyone who actually got to this point in the game probably already knows where all the presents are anyways. I thought this game might actually not be that bad when I started playing, but wow did that change fast. It's actually mind-blowing that they didn't bother to include more than 7 levels in this game. They barely changed anything between the difficulties, and the only major change is a negative one. But I had already decided that I was not just finishing this game, but 100%ing it, and I was gonna do just that. So, I played through every single level again, and I even got pretty damn good at it towards the end. I was doing all these animation cancels to get out of hiding places fast, speed running through the levels, and not soft-locking myself this time, and I would eventually arrive at the end. I had finished all 7 levels for the 3rd time, and it was time to see what that final reward was. The only reward that would make this worth it is if the Grinch became real and sucked my big, fat lollipop. That thing's just way too many calories, you know? But after sitting through the same ending and the credits for the third time, I got extended ending? No. Don't tell me that it's just the actual ending to the story. I was really hoping for any payoff as a thank you for finishing this game, but this being my final reward really just sent me over the edge. This might be the worst possible ending for this game. Sure, it does mention that he returns the presents and decorations, but other than that, it barely expands upon anything. It just mentions that his heart became swollen, rather than the iconic, the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the only other new addition is that he spent Christmas with the Who's. That's it. Seriously. And the worst thing about this ending is that almost anyone who played this game to the end probably already knew how the story ended. Why else would they buy a game about the Grinch if they had no idea who he was? And even then, it still explains it far worse than basically anything else you could buy for less. I think any other reward would have made me happier. I don't care if it's a no-clip cheat, another minigame, or even just a literal image from the movie that says, "Congratulations, you're a winner." Anything, and I mean anything, would be better than this. And this was just the tip of the iceberg of criticism for me. Why isn't he wearing his Santa outfit in the game? This was literally part of his plan to steal Christmas, to be disguised as Santa. They even mention it in the opening of the game, and he's even wearing that suit in several images in the game. His arm is even dressed in a Santa suit in the pause menu. Why do the Who's look nothing like they did in the story? These just look like generic people sprites they copied from somewhere else and threw them in here to avoid putting any effort in this game. Why was there not even a single mention of the Grinch's dog in this game? Even I remember that detail pretty well, and he's nowhere to be seen at all. Why did this game waste hours of my life, both as an adult and a kid, for absolutely nothing? Why was this game even made? Oh wait, I know why. This whole game was made to leech off a recognizable character with the shit game and hope parents would buy it for their kids so they can profit without actually making a good video game. And I completely forgot to add this in the script, but you know what the worst part of this game is? You know how shovelware games typically cost pretty small amounts nowadays? This game costs $15. From what I could gather, it seems this game just didn't sell a lot of units, so there aren't a lot of listings for it on sites like eBay. So yeah, you're paying $15 for a shovelware game with 7 levels and an ending like this. This game is not a good game. I felt like there was some real potential here, and they pretty much squandered all of that. But before I could finish this, I felt like there was one more thing I needed to do. So I went back and rewatched the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas cartoon special. At first, it only made me more mad at the game. I thought the menu backgrounds had at least been unique, but no, these are just copied from the cartoon's opening. And as I thought, he does have a dog named Max, who isn't mentioned in the game at all. He's even the Grinch's main helper when he's stealing from the Who's. And the Who's really do look nothing like the people in the game. I thought the little girl from the game looked more like Cindy Lou, the girl from the story, but no, they look pretty different. But as I kept watching, something changed. I started seeing things that I didn't even realize at first. Some of the sprites were actually kind of accurate. The chimney sprite was pretty spot on, and the sneaking animation was spot on too. I didn't even remember him sneaking like that in the cartoon, but I guess the developers actually paid more attention to that than I did. And surprisingly, the things he steals were actually pretty faithful to the original. He does steal wreaths and trees, but he also actually does steal lights. I wasn't sure if he did when I played through the game and felt like they were out of place, but there is some attention to detail. Hell, he actually does steal the logs from the fireplace too. It started to become apparent that I was just a little too harsh on this game. Don't get me wrong, it is not a good game, but there is at least some detail put in here, and they did make something that is at least a little more unique than other shovelware games. I began to realize that maybe I had this game wrong all along. Maybe this game's meaning goes beyond just being a cash grab. Maybe this game is meant to show us that Christmas isn't about the games, the presents, and the valuables. It's about the thought and spirit of Christmas, being thankful for the things you have, and appreciating the story and themes of how the Grinch stole Christmas. It's about spending time with those that are close to you and enjoying the most wonderful time of the year. It's about appreciating what you get, regardless of whether you wanted it or not. Or maybe it's just a bad game. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of the year. I learned a lot in the past year from making these videos, and I have a lot of ideas for future videos, as well as some videos that I'm still working on. But I hope you'll stick around for them. Stay safe, take care, and here's hoping that next year will be a good one.